Another game from the Season 2 ladder tournament. This time we have Matiisen versus Unscathed. Just telling the players they're good to go. Matiisen is playing Dorinthia and Unscathed is playing Wizard, and we're now seeing Matiisen leading off the game with a Spoils of War into Dawnblade going first. Now, he's coming in for 5, and if it hits, he will get 2 copper. He does have Go again, and he does have 2 red Ironsong responses in hand, which could fuel some more offense. Only pitched yellow, so he's in a bit of a weak position here against Wizard defensively, as he has no blue in hand with which he can use to potentially defend any Kano tricks. But when it comes to offense, he does have some options. Wizard here, Unscathed, opting for a double block. I believe these are both block 3 cards. Rousing Ether blocks 3. Scalding Rain blocks 3. Yeah, so blocking 6. I think there's a good chance that we'll see an Ironsong response come in over the top. But it looks like he doesn't do that. Okay. So Unscathed does have an opportunity to use Kano, but doesn't end up doing it. Probably just, well, I guess maybe he wanted to guarantee that if he didn't draw other stuff, he was going to be able to do Crucible, Ether Spindle. But I think using a Kano trigger there might have been nice because he does replenish his hand. On the other side of things, we do see a blue now available for Matiisen, so I think that there's going to be some better defense here. Yep, and there comes the Crucible of Aetherweave. So this is the wizard weapon once per turn instant. The next card you play this turn with an effect that deals arcane damage instead deals that much arcane damage plus 1, followed up by an Ether Spindle for 4 damage, up to 5, opt X, where X is the damage dealt by the Ether Spindle. 3 of it ends up being blocked by the Steelblade Shunt pitched to use Null Rune Hood, Arcane Barrier 1, Null Rune Robe, Arcane Barrier 1, and Null Rune Gloves, Arcane Barrier 1. That does mean, however, that 2 damage gets through. It puts Matiisen to 38 life. And then we're going to see Opt 2, and then a Kano trigger, Tome of Aetherweave. Wow, and then Tome of Aetherwind, and then another Tome of Aetherwind. Wow, and he has a 3rd Tome of Aetherwind in hand. Those tomes being stacked up, very interesting. I think he's just been drawing cards with these. So he's now got a full hand, but unfortunately for him, he has a lot of red in it. And yeah, I'm not entirely sure if he has that strong a play. He could pop the Stormstriders to play another card, but I'm not altogether sure that it's going to be worth it with this hand available. So should be interesting. I think often you want to save Stormstriders for your kill turn, and he's not really close to a kill turn. Wow, ends up pitching 2 reds and a blue, so he'll have 2 energy floating in order to do another Kano trigger. A Chain Lightning, which he could play. So Chain Lightning here. So this would come in for 3, and then that would actually allow him to... Oh, he doesn't actually... He's off by 1. He would not be able to play the last Ether Spindle from hand. So he could play that for 3 damage, and then Arsenal the Ether Spindle, though, and I think that's probably what I would do. Yeah, so he reveals the Chain Lightning. He has 2 floating, plays the Chain Lightning. So you may play your next Wizard non-attack action card this turn as though it were an instant. If you've played another Wizard non-attack action card this turn, deal 3 damage to each opposing hero. So 3 damage from the Chain Lightning. And he could play that card as an instant, but he's off by 1 on energy, so he's not going to be able to play that, I believe. And so Dorinthia is going to move into the next turn with 35 life. Here. Dawnblade swing coming in for 3. Pitching a Yellow Warrior's Valor. And I think that we could see the red Razor Reflex that's now in hand being used to buff out the damage on this attack. Unfortunately, this isn't going to be that aggressive a turn from Matiisen, which is a shame because our wizard player here has drawn an extremely non-aggressive hand. So if you look at what if you look at what's in the hand there are 2 cards that can't block. So this would potentially be a major moment of weakness. This would potentially be a major moment of weakness here for Unscathed, except that he has, he's not really faced with something that's that aggressive. And so we do see the Razor Reflex come out for another 3 damage. So 6 damage is dealt. And to be fair, that's a fifth of the wizard's hit points. But, ooh, wow, really aggressive here. Breaking the Refraction Bolters and pitching a red. So nothing left in hand. That means he's wide open to potential Kano tricks, but the Dawnblade is now coming in for 3, and if it hits, it will get a +1 counter. I believe the card that he has in Arsenal is another Iron Song Response red, so if it's a single block, that Iron Song Response will be able to break through it and score a hit. We might see some Kano tricks coming out, though, because with nothing left in hand to potentially pitch and no energy floating, any arcane damage that gets thrown out now is going to just hit directly. Shout out, by the way, to X Calamity and to for the follow before this stream, and for Dolio Lol, who I think followed either before this stream or right at the start of this stream. Thank you guys for the follow. Much appreciated. Meanwhile, let's see what's going on here. Looks like our wizard player may be deciding how he wants to play this. So he could take this opportunity to try to do some major damage. Use a Kano trigger with that Eye of Ophidia, which would allow him to opt. So Eye of Ophidia is an interesting card. This is actually a fabled card, the highest rarity in the game. And so when you pitch this, it opts 2 and it pitches for 3. This is probably the fabled card that sees the most gameplay because of the prevalence of wizard. The Arknight Shard is not seen as frequently, though it's also less available. Oh man, he's going big time. He's not even gonna pitch the eye right now. He's gonna pitch an energy potion to use the Storm Striders. He's gonna seize this opportunity to do as much damage as he can. Lesson in Lava coming out. This could be a big combo. So Lesson of Lava lands, of course, for 3 damage here. Now he can search his deck for a wizard card with energy cost equal to or less than the damage dealt. So equal to or less than 3. Reveal it, then shuffle his deck and put this on top. And then he's going to be able to, we'll see what he does here. But there are a lot of things he could potentially go for. Yeah, so I think it's going to be Chain Lightning. And then he's going to play the Chain Lightning and then use the Blazing Ether. So he spends... Oops, sorry guys, just reset the camera by mistake. So he's then he is gonna use his Eye of Ophidia for a Kano trigger. It looks like he sends. Oh, he sends the other card to the bottom. Chain Lightning lands for 3. Then he's gonna throw out a Blazing Ether here. So then this is gonna come in for 6. So he's managed to deal 12 damage to... He deals 12 damage to Dorinthia, but she does get her +1 counter. So, 12 damage is a lot. In a Blitz game, that combination might just end the game outright, but we aren't playing Blitz here. And as a result of that, Dorinthia is still ahead on life, and now she has a +1 counter. I think it's possible that this series of events may actually be to the Kano player's disadvantage, though we'll have to see. It's an interesting situation. So one of the reasons that Kano is so strong in Blitz is that you can get into range pretty quickly where he can kill you in one combo. But in this, even if he's doing strong combos and plays, it's going to take that little while longer for him to actually get you. And because of that, you get into this situation where like we just saw, a Kano player can do a lot of damage with a combination of cards, but still be in a position where the opponent has a relatively high life total and is coming in aggressively. So we'll have to see what happens here. And so Spoils of War comes out. Next weapon attack this turn gains +2 and go again. Whenever a weapon you control hits this turn, create 2 copper. Our Dawnblade here has a +1 counter from hitting 2 times last turn. It's a little off with the camera. Just noticing that. Okay, so his Dawnblade has a +1 counter from hitting last turn, and so it's coming in for a total of 6. Looks like Kano is just going to take 6, and then we see the energy being spent for another Dawnblade swing. So 2 copper is created. The copper is almost useless in this matchup, so it's not used that widely in general, but it's 4 energy and destroy it to draw a card, go again. Normally what you see this used as is if you have a hand that has too much blue, you can use copper to draw a card and try to get something more threatening. But the problem is that in the wizard matchup in particular, you want to hold on to some of that blue stuff because it can be used as defense, and it's relevant to do so even on your own turn in case they do instant speed tricks. So as a result of that, it can be pretty useful to hang on to that copper, in my view. Okay, so the Dawnblade's coming in here for 6, for 4, after the first attack for 6 hits, and if this hits it, we'll get another +1 counter. Putting the Dawnblade on 2 counters is very dangerous against Dorinthia, but it's possible that our Kano player is going to let it happen in order to try to do a big attack on his own turn, and then try and kill Dorinthia on her own turn before her attack lands. That's kind of a classic wizard attack strategy. You can sort of take 2 turns in a row by doing instant speed tricks. Though without his Storm Striders, as those have already been used, it's less likely this will succeed. Goes for a big block, so it's going to be the Scalding Rain blocks for 3, the Reverberate blocks for 3, and then the Arcanite Skullcap blocking for 2. So blocking a total of 8 against this attack, which is coming in at strength 4. Heavy overblock, but that's actually just what he needs. With the cards that Matiisen has available, he will not be able to push through this unless he does the Glint and top decks some kind of attack reaction. He will not be able to get through this as he only has +4 available from attack reactions. However, because the first attack hit, Matiisen will still have the ability, or rather will still keep his +1 counter on the Dawnblade. So even though this block is going to work out, that Dawnblade is still buffed up and is going to be a potential threat in the future. So Unscathed putting a counter there on the Skullcap. Now, in Blitz, you very commonly see people running Talismanic Lens instead of Skullcap. I think even in CC, Talismanic Lens is often played, but the Skullcap does offer good physical defense, which can be a nice thing to have. Counter on Tunic, pitches Gaze the Ages, Crucible, and there's the Ether Spindle. Okay, so interesting turn, very basic. Ether Spindle here coming in for 5, and only 3 of it can be blocked. An all blue hand for Dorinthia. That's actually something that she might want to see. Under normal circumstances, that might lead you running to the copper token to try to draw something more threatening, but against Kano, an all blue hand might be just what you need with the life totals at this level. So it's going to be an opt 2 off the damage inflicted by that Crucible of Aetherweave. And then we're going to draw up 21 life to 15 life. This is almost like the start of a Blitz game in terms of the life totals, but the equipment's a little depleted. Kano's Tunic is charged up. So Kano's Tunic is charged up. Both players have broken their boots. There is a +1 counter on Dawnblade, and the Skullcap has taken a hit. So almost like and of course Dorinthia is at 21 life and has 2 copper. Not that the copper matters very much, but this is almost like the start of a Blitz game, but with the players' resources a little more depleted and that Tunic charged up. And we see just the basic Dawnblade for 4. Looks like no block. Glint the Quicksilver played. Target weapon attack gains go again. The card draw not kicking in. And then we're going to see another swing. So Kano down to 11 life, and a second Dawnblade swing now coming in for 4. And if this hits, it's going to be a +2. It's an interesting situation here, I feel, for Kano. He really, what he wants to do is he wants to get in there and kill his opponent if he can, but he's got to worry. He's got to worry about some of these about some of these Dawnblade attacks with the counters and so on. If he gives his opponent 2 counters, he may not be able to stop it when the time comes, and I'm not sure how big his next turn will be. He does have a Lesson in Lava, so he could do I don't know. So he can do a Lesson in Lava, using Crucible, find a Chain Lightning. His opponent can't stop the Lesson in Lava. He can play the Chain Lightning, then he can play the Sonic Boom, or no. It's an interesting situation. I'm not entirely sure what the best line is. I'm not an experienced Kano player, but if he did do Lesson in Lava, Chain Lightning, Sonic Boom, top deck, I mean, I don't know, like maybe you do the Lesson in Lava. Yeah, maybe you do less. Yeah, I don't think he has a good way to get an action point for Gaze the Ages. Ooh, he's going for it though. We'll see what he does. Perhaps he'll have a better plan than the one that I just thought up, and he will get the +1 counter on Mattison's Dawnblade, up to Strength 5 on the weapon, which is a very dangerous place to be at for the opponent. 2 blues in hand, and an E-Strike there. Mattison's looking like he's in a pretty good position. 21 to 7 life, 2 counters on Dawnblade, defense reaction and Arsenal, or attack reaction and Arsenal. Ooh, Metacarpus Node being used here instead of the Crucible. That's a nice little trick here. Lesson in Lava coming in. 4 arcane damage. If it deals damage, you may search your deck for a wizard card with energy cost equal to or less than the damage dealt. Reveal it, then shuffle your deck and put it on top of your deck. And so Matiisen here has to decide how much he wants to defend. I think this is going to potentially be a big turn from Kano. I think Kano's game plan is to try to have a big turn here, get Matiisen in range, and then when Matiisen comes in for the next big attack, try to kill him before the attack lands with Kano instant speed tricks. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not that strategy works out for him. It's not always guaranteed to succeed, but it has been one that's been quite effective in Blitz, and we'll see whether or not it pays off here. I do believe most of Unscathed experience is with Blitz, where I think Kano is a scarier hero overall, but yeah. So we're going to see a Iron Song response pitched here for 3, blocking for 3 with the 3 Null Rune items, but that does mean that Lesson in Lava is going to hit for 1. So because it's dealt 1 damage, we're going to see Unscathed searching for a wizard card with energy cost equal to or less than 1, revealing it and then shuffling the deck and putting it on top. As I had predicted earlier, it is a Chain Lightning. So we're now going to see a pitch, maybe that Bolt being pitched, play the Chain Lightning. He is going to be kind of relying on a top deck here. Yeah, so Chain Lightning comes in for 3. If you've played another, so you may play it, and it lets him play his next wizard non-attack action card this turn as though it were an instant. Because he has played another wizard non-attack action, it deals 3 damage. Metacarpus Node and Crucible into a Sonic Boom for 5. If it deals damage, look at the top card of your deck. If it's a wizard non-attack action card, you may banish it. If you do, you may play it this turn as though it were an instant, and it costs X less to play, where X is the damage dealt by Sonic Boom. So Sonic Boom coming in for 5 and potentially going to reduce the next thing substantially. Matiisen does opt to pitch his remaining blue, and so hit and reduce cost by 2, but it's only a blue Rousing Ether. However, it does still get played for an additional 2 arcane damage. The next card you play this turn with an effect that deals arcane damage deals that much +1, but there aren't any other cards being played. I think he would have certainly hoped to see something a little stronger, maybe a red aggressive card. Oh man, his very next card, this red Voltic Bolt for 5, would have been a much better top deck, but that's not what we saw from him. Now Mattison's going to have a chance to try and do some major damage. Oh yeah, he's going to try to close out the game. He's putting his defenses down here. Chalarian Dropout says, "Hey, what's up, Davis? Good to see you. This is the ladder tournament here. We're in the top cut, and it's Wizard versus Dorinthia in Classic rather than in Blitz. So Dorinthia is swinging for lethal here, coming in for 8 total after that Sharpened Steel, but her defenses are down with no cards left in hand. This is a situation no cards left in hand, 13 life. She is in range of an ideal Kano situation, but I'm not sure that we're going to see that ideal situation. He only has 2 blues that he can pitch to use Kano triggers. He does have 2 points of armor that he could use. So I think if I'm Kano here, I could block with the tunic, block with the skull caps. That's blocking 2. Then this attack only hits for 6 and puts me at 1 HP. And I can then... I know that he doesn't have energy, so even if his last card is an Iron Song response, he is able to... He's going to be able to... Ooh, wow. He's going to try to stop the whole thing. So he's going to go for the double block plus the tunic plus the skull cap. So he's blocking 6, 7, 8. The Iron Song response does come in to hit him for 3. I think I'm in that circumstance. I might have just dropped to 1 life, tried to zap my opponent again, and then get him on his next turn when he's coming in. If he blocked with the 2 pieces of armor, he could have guaranteed that the attack did not kill him. And then he could have felt free to use his stuff for aggression, but I guess he only needed to keep these 2 cards in order to do a Crucible buffed Voltic Bolt, and there's no blue in his opponent's hand. This is a moment of substantial weakness here for Dorinthia, an all-red hand at just the wrong moment, and Voltic Bolt coming in. Now, interestingly... Oh, yeah, that's right. So because this card is yellow... Yeah, because this card is yellow, he can't actually use the Crucible first, so he's coming in for 5 instead of 6. Sorry, I don't know why it's doing that. Coming in for 5 instead of 6. I think this is going to just be 5 damage. Yeah, 5 damage gets through. 8 life to 4 life. 8 life is absolutely in range, and Kano has a handful of blue. This is a very dangerous situation for Dorinthia. I think there's a good chance she dies right here. Pitch and Dawnblade for 5. That is lethal. And there are some tricks in hand that could push the damage through, but with no blues available, this could be Kano's opportunity to try and close out this game. Only 8 life left, and he has a handful of blue. I think this is going to be a tough one, but... The advantage here is that he doesn't have a lens. He doesn't have any opt set up. So for Dorinthia, she's only dealing with blind top decks here. First one, Scalding Rain Blue. Very unfortunate top deck. Very weak here. Only 2 damage. He needs to use his other Kano triggers before playing the Scalding Rain so that he knows what options he has available. Ooh, next one, though, sees a Tome of Fyendal. That's absolutely something that he wants. It's not going to heal him here, but the card draws are potentially going to fuel a bigger aggressive turn. So now I probably want to pitch and use the Tome, and then he'll have 2 energy left over. He can potentially play the Scalding Rain, double Blazing Ether, but he doesn't have a way to play it. Oh, it's looking dangerous. So he can play the Scalding Rain for 1. He could also use these cards to block with and try to stay alive. The problem with trying to stay alive... So he could use his 2 energy to Crucible and Scalding Rain for 3, and then use the remaining cards to block 9 and try to stay alive, but his opponent can double pitch Route, which will put him up to 11 and change the block to 6. So if Kano goes for the defense, he's going to die. He doesn't go for the defense. Crucible plus Scalding Rain coming in for 3. Or maybe he's going to go for the defense after this and try to get some cards out of his opponent's hand. If we do see Warrior blocking, she won't be able to use Route. No, she's sticking to her guns. Oh, man. So if Kano goes for the block here... If Kano goes for the block here, he is going to die to that Route. But he doesn't... with those 2 Blazing Ethers in hand are actually kind of unfortunate. So the dream would be like... Has he already seen all of his Chain Lightnings? I guess the dream would be like... Pitch Scalding, Chain Lightning, Pitch Blazing for Chain Lightning. Opponent doesn't block. Play the other Blazing from hand. But I think he may have seen all his Chain Lightnings. I know he's seen at least 2 of them. Let's take a quick look here. Oops, I almost just saved his discard pile instead of searching it. Yeah, all 3 Chain Lightnings are in the discard, so that plan's not going to work out. Now, there's other stuff that could potentially work, but I'm not sure. Yeah, we could see a Reverberate. That would potentially work. So, Pitch Blue, Yeah, pitch blue into a reverberate would probably be his best option for the kill here, but he doesn't know what's on top of that deck. If he uses the Scalding Rain in hand to do another Kano trigger, it's going to be coming down to a lucky top deck. He's going for the defense, blocking 9 with the Scalding Rain and 2 Blazing Ethers. And if Dorinthia weren't able to break through, this would almost certainly mean that Kano would be able to get a full hand and potentially blast her on her next attack when it's coming in. But I don't know. I think Dorinthia is going to pitch both of her remaining cards, play that route, go up to 8 again. Oh no, but that doesn't actually win the game. I miscalculated that. I had thought for some reason I thought he had another +3. So actually our wizard player is in a pretty good position. Daidoji Eric says, "Hey, just got here. Thank you for streaming. Is it Blitz or CC?" This is the end game of a classic constructed game rather than a Blitz. Okay, so guys, my commentary earlier was wrong, and I apologize for that. The route doesn't actually put him into position for the kill here. It merely gets him the hit. He is going to play it, pitching 2, route. I don't know which card he's going to route here. Probably the probably the Scalding Rain, because it's the worst of the cards to put in Arsenal. Routing Blazing Ether would be very unsafe because the opponent can Arsenal it, and then, although I don't know, maybe an Arsenal, I don't know. I don't think you want your opponent to have Blazing Ether and Arsenal in this situation. So I think routing the Scalding Rain is best. Although the Scalding Rain does give a Kano trigger, so maybe not. I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm not really an expert on this. Route, by the way, coming in for target weapon attack, getting +3. If the defending hero is defended with a card from their hand, you may return target non-equipment defending card to its owner's hand. He does return one of the Blazing Ethers. So he's now at strength 8 to his opponent's 6. So he lands the attack for 2. Keeping the 2 +1 counters on the Dawnblade, which is going to be critical for his offense, but Unscathed lived, and 5 life is a very risky position to be in when you're having to make your attack into a wizard, and he draws into another all-red hand. Extremely unlucky there. Well, I don't know how, I say extremely. I don't know what his odds are of an all-red hand. I don't know how he sideboards, and I don't know how many reds and stuff he's playing. Oh man, wizard with an all-blue hand, Warrior with an all-red hand. Warrior's defense is going to be very limited. Eye of Ophidia coming out. Eye of Ophidia letting our wizard player opt to seeing an energy potion and a blue reverberate. Not the best in... Well, we'll see what happens here. Not the best in the world. Not total garbage. This is very risky for our warrior player, but there's not much he can do without having the energy in his hand to defend against Kano's attacks. He may sort of be at the mercy of the top decks here. I think we're going to see these cards sent to bottom, and our wizard player hoping for a red on the top of the deck. Kano sees a Gaze the Ages, not red, but it's pretty good. So he could just use that right now and get the opt 2, but he won't get it back into his hand as it resolves. Another thing that he could do is pitch to use a different Kano trigger and hope to use that card before he uses the Gaze the Ages and then get it back in hand. That is what we're going to see. Lesson in Lava. Ooh, not a great situation here, I feel, for our Dorinthia player. I think it's extremely likely that we're going to see a buffed Lesson in Lava coming in for 4, or maybe he'll play Lesson in Lava for 3. He can then do the Gaze... Well, so then he'll get whatever he wants on the top of his deck. I guess the Gaze the Ages might not be that good in that situation. I don't know. Interesting. Oh, but so he could play it to opt 2, leave the cards, then just get it back into his hand to have more energy. So that's pretty good. Gaze the Ages is a very strong card. Daidoji Eric, I actually didn't know that you were. I actually didn't know you were following Flesh and Blood. I think maybe you had remarked earlier on it or something, but I did not recall that. There are a lot of L5R players in the Flesh and Blood community now. I myself got into it. L5R was the previous game that I was playing. I myself got into this from the L5R community, and there's, I think there's other stuff. There's other people who have been involved as well. For Dream was the one who I think was one of the ones who told me about it. Grendel, who played L5R, was the person who sort of taught me how to play this. And there's a few other people from that community in the game as well. It's not just those two. In fact, there's quite a few. It's not just those two. You know, I've seen some of the European players here. It's an interesting situation. Unscathed, I think, is going into the tank here, thinking about how best to play out his options. So I think he's going to pitch for Crucible and Lesson. Yeah, pitch, Crucible, and Lesson. So 1 floating, and he's coming in for a total of 4 damage. If it deals damage, he can search for a wizard card with energy cost equal to or less than the damage dealt, reveal it, and then shuffle and put it on top of the deck. So I believe... Oh, wow. He's in a crazy situation here because 2 of his Blazing Ethers are in discard and the last one's in Arsenal. Wow, Warrior pitches all his remaining cards to block 3. So only one, but that means 1 damage gets through. So our wizard player is going to be able to search for something and put it on the top of the deck. I can only assume he has lethal. Yeah, he finds a blue Scalding Rain. And then pitches or a red Scalding Rain. Yep, and then he pitches and Scalding Rain for 4, and that is game. Congratulations to Unscathed. So, very interesting game here. You know, I was thinking that he was in trouble at first. Unfortunately for Matiisen, though, we had 2 turns of all red at the end, which meant that his options for defending against Wizards, instant speed attacks were pretty limited. And even though Matiisen was successfully maintaining those Dawnblade counters and putting a lot of pressure on, he was not able to get the pitch there that he needed to defend himself. That is one of the strengths of Wizard. Unlike some of the other classes, the Wizard's ability to attack with arcane damage for basically everything means that your opponent's ability to block is itself kind of contingent on how much blue they have in deck. I don't know how much blue Matiisen was running, but however much it was, he didn't see it in those crucial last 2 turns and wasn't able to defend himself very heavily against those attacks. So, interesting situation there. Ultimately, Unscathed was able to take the win and will be moving on to the top 4. So that was the Season 2 ladder tournament top 8 game with Unscathed on Kano versus Matiisen on Dorinthia. You know, some people say Kano is not viable in Classic Constructed. I think he's certainly worse in Classic Constructed than he is in Draft, or in Blitz, rather. But I don't think you can count him out completely, as Unscathed may have shown here against Matiisen. So we will have a Kano in the top 4, and we will see how that progresses shortly. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this broadcast. Thank you all for watching. We're going to be back later with some more Flesh and Blood content. And yeah, Daidoji Eric says, just played for the first time about 2 weeks ago, but so far I like it. Yep, I'm really enjoying the game. I think it's a lot of fun. Eric, you might know about this, you might not. You can check out my blog at TowerNumberNine.com. URL is in the bottom right there if you are interested in seeing some strategy articles and tournament reports and stuff, which pertain to Flesh and Blood. And I have a few articles there that are of general relevance to more games. One about dealing with luck and, you know, that sort of thing. But yeah, it's going to be. I think you will like what you find as you investigate Flesh and Blood as a game. I think that I don't think it's totally perfect. I think some of the art is a little edgy. I think, you know, there's some stuff like that I'm not the fondest of, but the core game mechanics and stuff are really strong. All right, guys, that is going to do it. I will catch you guys later, and thank you all for watching.